So in this video, I'm going to show you how to take this ordinary golf ball and turn it into pure cash. And I'm going to use my simple UV laser engraving technique. You're going to be amazed how easy and quick it is to create this, and the amount of money you can make will shock you. So let's get started. Hey, Steve here, welcome back. Now, I'm always on the lookout for things that can make a bit of money in my idle time, so they can't take too long and they can't be too expensive. So the addition of the Commarker Omni1 UV laser has opened up a whole bunch of new doors as far as engraving things. And somebody came along and asked me if I could engrave golf balls, and I thought I'd give it a try, and I spent not a whole lot of time to figure it out. And the answer is yes, you can. And in this video, I'm going to show you the entire process I used end to end. I'll also show you some of the tooling I built to make this easier. And I'll talk about some tips and tricks towards the end of this. And that's enough to get going. Now, the first thing I wanted to do is create some kind of a jig to make all of this easy so that I could place a golf ball and have it engraved without it rolling around. So I lined up a piece of paper with a row of holes and then just taped it down to the workspace and marked the holes where I want to actually drill so I can screw my jig into the workspace, put a little cross where the center of the laser is, where it comes down to the workspace, and then just measured a vertical line there. So a bunch of measuring to figure out where the holes are relative to the positioning of the laser, and that just helps to make sure everything's accurate. And then I took all of this stuff over to Lightburn. And in Lightburn, I started with just an empty canvas here, and I'm going to draw a circle first. And this is the circle that holds the golf ball, so it's basically a little pocket. Put it in the center of the workspace here for now. And then I duplicated it because I'm going to make 4 smaller holes, and I'm going to position those at each of the corners along those lines that I measured. And you can see I'm just grabbing them, grouping them, and duplicating again, so I have 4 of them, and positioning, and that's as simple as the jig is. I'll then draw just an outline rectangle and position that in the center it, and I'll have to do some adjustment because my laser doesn't come down in the center of my workspace. So that's it. And to cut this, you could make it by hand. I just sent it over to my CO2 laser, and I'll cut it with that. This is just 1/4-inch plywood, and when I'm done, I can lay it down on the workspace, centered in the red dot where the laser comes down, and just hand twist the bolts in. They're fairly tight holes here, so that it doesn't move around, and there you go. Then just place a ball on it, focus the laser for the height of the ball, and we're pretty much ready to go at this point. So I'm back in Lightburn now to show you one of 3 types of engraving I'm going to do on these golf balls, and that's simple text. And all I did was I turned off the jig output so that it's still on the workspace and I can use it for alignment. Drop down a piece of text and position it on the center of the circle where the golf ball sits in the jig. Now, as far as settings go, 1,000 millimeters a second for speed, 15 kilohertz on the frequency, and 0.002 is the interval. And really, that's all you need. I send this over to the laser, position a ball, and you can see it framing there, and then I do the engrave, and it comes out pretty nicely. And you can see it looks a little grayer on camera than it actually is. It's darker. Now, if you want it to be darker, then all you really need to do is increase or decrease rather the interval to maybe 0.001. I didn't want to engrave too deeply because I didn't want to mess with the dynamics of the golf ball, so it doesn't change its performance when you're hitting it. So keep that in mind when you're doing the engraving. You want it to be really shallow. The second type of engraving I wanted to do was just a simple image. So I took the image part of my logo and dropped it onto the canvas. Again, I'm centering here on the hole where the ball sits. The size, I found you can go up to about 22, 23 millimeters square for what you're engraving before you run into weird distortions. But I'll make this a little smaller because I don't want a giant pi sign on a golf ball. And again, settings are the same as they were for text, although this is an image. it'll engrave exactly the same way. Shoot it over to the laser, and again, these are sped up about 10 times, so it took about a minute maybe to do this. And you can see the engraving there comes out really, really nicely. Again, a very, very nice engraving, and the Commarker does a fantastic job with this stuff. The final kind of engraving you might want to do to a golf ball is to put an image on it, and it's not going to be common, but if you really wanted to, the good news is you can. So I decided on the ball I made with my Slice Pie Design logo on one side. On the other side of it, I would use a photo, and to terrify anybody who gets this, I'm going to use a picture of me. And again, I'm going to size it down to, I think, 19, maybe 18 millimeters square. I'm going to use Stucky for the rendering because, again, UV lasers don't do grayscale. The interval here is going to be 0.05, so it's going to be quite a bit grainier than we would use for text. Speed 40 millimeters a second, and the frequency is also 40 kilohertz. So that's it. And when you do the engrave, again, this is 10 times the speed it took, but it did engrave very quickly, and you can see there's my pretty face on the side of a golf ball. So, you know, if you really wanted to hit a hole-in-one with my face, you're welcome to do it. So hopefully you've seen how easy it is to do an engraving on a golf ball with a UV laser like the Commarker Omni1. I showed you 3 different things you can put here. It could be just basic text, it could be a logo of some sort, or it could be even a photograph. And the good news is all of these engrave really quickly, so about a minute per ball. And that means that there's a good potential here for some money. You can charge anywhere from $3 to $4 a ball. Some people push it to $5. I think that's a bit much. But the point is, even if you take the conservative number, if you were doing an hour's worth of work engraving golf balls, you could make easily $140 an hour. And if you have a side hustle, that's pretty good money. Even if you have a business and it's just an idle time task, maybe you're waiting for some other machine to finish a job, you can, you know, hammer out a dozen golf balls very quickly and make money while you sit there. So that's the pricing. Now, I think the things, I'll bring up a couple of concerns here. Somebody asked me to engrave colored golf balls, and I tried pink and I tried the lime green color. I didn't try orange, but nothing but white engraves very well. And, you know, if you have customers that want different colors of balls, I would say, you know, shy away from it because you're going to run into problems. That's the only concern I have. The laser, in the case of the Commarker Omni1, does engrave those things, but it's very hard to see because the resultant engraving is practically the same color as the ball. So keep all of that in mind when you're doing it. Now, if you are interested in a laser like the Commarker Omni1, it is absolutely, without question, my favorite engraving laser. I'll put an affiliate link down below, but if you are interested in seeing that laser in action, click up in the corner here and go watch that review. And, you know, hopefully that gives you some comfort that a UV laser is the laser to have. With that, I'll wind down. I'll say get out there, make your world, and I'll see you next time.